Well, last time we were considering the meaning of the parables, why Jesus teaches in parables, and the parable of the sower. And the last soil Jesus talks about is the good soil, which bears fruit for God. And today we're looking at one aspect of fruit bearing. What does it mean to be a fruitful person? And that links in with this parable today. So we're in Mark 4, and this is verse 21. He said to them, "Do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? Instead, don't you put it on its stand? For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. If anyone has ears to hear, let them hear. Consider carefully what you hear," he continued. "With the measure you use, it will be measured to you, and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them."
Mm. Quite a few little bits there, isn't there?
Yeah.
But this first bit talking about this lamp, do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? If we pick up the crop analogy, you wouldn't bring a fruitful seed-bearing crop and sort of place it away, hidden somewhere.
No.
The way that that is meant to be sort of dispersed, and it's meant to be shared, and the seeds flung out in order to bring more life in other places. And I suppose that's what Jesus is trying to say here. He's like, if you have the light of the gospel, or even the light of the world, who he is, you don't stick that sort of away, hidden somewhere. No. The point of, as we were saying in the last couple of Chronicles, the point of the growing of this plant is the harvest.
Yeah.
And the point of the gospel in us is to then sort of shine it out to others.
I think it's absolutely right, and I think Jesus is just it's so simple, isn't it? This image, do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? Well, no, it's like going into a dark room, and you reach for the little torch on your phone. You turn the torch on, suddenly the room is illuminated, and then you conceal it with your other hand. It's like, well, why turn it on to cover it up? And Jesus is saying, this is one of the ways that you've got a good, fruitful soil, is that it will desire to share out the message and to put the message of the kingdom on a stand where it belongs. And this is something that as you say, Jesus embodies himself. So the very reason he came to earth was to put himself on the stand. He is the light of the world, and he hasn't remained hidden. Mm-hmm. He's come to this earth to shine the truth about the Father, and he calls his disciples to do likewise with the message of the kingdom. So again, it's just a classic. It's almost too obvious to need an answer. It's like a rhetorical question, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, well, do you even want me to answer that?
Yeah.
But that's the point. It's so simple and clear, isn't it?
Yeah. But then also we get this sense that we get this kind of concealing and this revealing going on, because Jesus immediately says in verse 23, after he said this, "If anyone has ears to hear, let them hear."
Yes.
So there is this idea that the light of the world has come into the world, and you are in the crowd now listening to him, but are you really going to listen?
Yeah.
Are you going to consider carefully, which is what he says in verse 24, consider carefully what you hear. So there's a sense that, look, the light has come in, but you can pay attention to it, or you can ignore it completely. Yeah. So what are you going to do now that the light is here?
Yeah, I remember reading one just lovely line in a commentary once that was talking about this and the previous parable, and it said, the same sun which melts the ice bakes the clay.
Right.
And the point is, it's the light and the warmth of the sun will melt the icy heart, but the hardened heart will only become harder under the same sun.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing with the light, isn't it? It will either bring warmth and truth and revelation, or we'll want to, turn away from it. It's too bright. We want to go back in the dark, back under the covers. Close those curtains. It will bake us. And Jesus issues quite a frightening warning here, doesn't he? Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. In other words, to sit under the ministry of the word is to be given something. You're privileged to hear the Spirit word, which brings life. It's a gift to you. But if it's not combined with repentance and faith, in the end, even that will be taken away. It won't. It will be seen to be a curse rather than a blessing, because not that it is a curse, but it just confirms you. So I'm just thinking now of Pharaoh. That in one sense, the worst judgment upon Pharaoh is that last scene where Moses says, "I will not appear before you again," which is to say, you will not have exposure to the word again.
Sure.
You've been given opportunities, but you haven't taken them, and now even that word is going to be taken away, and you're left to your.
And in the New Testament, Jesus even instructs those who don't welcome the message, just dust off your feet.
Exactly.
Which was a sign to say, we've given you pearls, you've thrown them back in our face. That's it.
Yeah.
You haven't accepted this, so we're going to even withdraw even that message from you.
That's right. But there's an encouragement as well, isn't there, here, for those who do have, will be given. Whoever has will be given more. That's that wonderful sense, isn't it? That if we are by God's grace wanting to hear and be fruitful, then the Lord is going to keep, like a fruit bush, He's going to keep pruning us so that we can be maximally fruitful, so that we'll go 30, 60, 100 times. We'll have that sort of life of increasing fruitfulness, really, which is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, and we see that here because the disciples are given that parable, but they want more.
Yeah.
So they go to Him and they say, "Teacher, what does this mean?" And He gives them more. And then as we see their lives progress, after Jesus' death and resurrection, we see them be abundantly fruitful in their ministries. The fathers of the church. So we see that verse sort of acted out, I suppose, in the lives of the disciples.
We do, yeah, and we're to follow them in that. And they were, they weren't, models of righteousness often, were they? They got lots wrong, like we do, but the posture was one of learning from the King, wanting to follow the King, and that's what Jesus is encouraging here. So there's two things. I think we need to, for those who are Christians watching, we need to be like the lamp on the stand, don't we? To go out with the message of the kingdom, but also for all of us, there's a challenge to our hearts. If we're not going to combine what we're hearing with faith, then we can expect the blessing of the word to be withdrawn in the end. And so, Lord, help us to be listeners and to be fruitful people.